just add a little bit of extra inspiration given everything that you're involved in and still in the big competitions?
I think that's a reflection of what the team is doing and the level of performances and the amount of games that we are winning. As I said, I think it's just a reflection of that.
I'm not going to go through the list of medical updates, injury updates, otherwise we'll be here tomorrow and you've got to travel to Southampton. But I was quite interested, starting with the England boys, what Thomas Tuchel had to say about agreeing that it's a friendly, they were feeling discomfort, it was right for them to go back to their club and be assessed. That's the kind of conversation you have, I guess, with all the national teams.
Yes, and we have very good relationship and communication with most of the national teams, certainly with Thomas. We've been extremely supportive all the time, and when you have to communicate the state and the moment of every player, we are always very honest, and at the end there is a medical decision that has to be made, and that was clear what the conclusion was.
And with all the teams, the Brazilians, the Spanish, the French, it benefits their World Cup hopes to rest players that need a rest as much as it benefits Arsenal, I guess.
No, I think when a player is fit and available to play, he has to play, and I think it makes us so proud that we have that many players in the national team, and the players are desperate to play with the national team, and we know how important every time that they are together and the time that they spend in preparation means to them. So we are fully supportive of that, and when we can do it, we do it.
So of the players who haven't been involved or have been partially involved in their national teams, are any of those who may not be available to you over the next couple of games?
You will see. I continue the speculation, so you can do it and you can judge it afterwards. Did what I say was right, or I have to maybe change and delete and write something else?
But it's difficult anyway, because you would, I'm sure, rest some of those players ahead of a big Champions League night a couple of days after.
We are in a position right now that we're going to make the strongest lineups and decisions that we possibly can to win every competition. We are 2-3 games away in the FA Cup, and we know how important that competition is for us.
With Noni, there was a lot made of the fact that he had a brace when he left after that first game. Is it as bad as it looks?
No, it's not, and it looked really, really bad, and Noni was really worried, especially after what happened in his other knee a few weeks ago, and he was out for 6 weeks. But no, he's nowhere near that injury, so that was really good news.
I think Thomas said days. Is that right?
I think so.
Ebbs probably though is going to be out for a little while.
Ebbs is out, yeah.
How long?
There's no say. With Ebbs, I cannot put a finger there because I don't know, because he's a special character in that.
Good news on the injury front before we move on, and that's obviously they weren't quite ready to take part in the Carabao Cup final, but Martin and Urian are probably available again. Aren't they?
Those are in contention to possibly be in the squad.
In terms of the goalkeeper for a domestic cup game, can we assume that the keeper who starts tomorrow will be Spanish and has a name that ends in A?
I think tomorrow goalkeeper is going to be, is he European? He's under 32, right-footed, and speaks at least 2 languages.
Perfect.
Yeah.
The game, sorry. It's an important game, isn't it? A quarter-final of the FA Cup.
Yeah.
You've outdone me there, Mikel.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
You've done me many times, so we are 10-1, don't worry.
Another Wembley appearance at stake.
Yeah.
How important is it? Just probably the third of the most competitions you're involved in terms of importance, but still nice to get to Wembley again.
Yeah, huge competition, so related to the history of our football club, and we're going to play a team that is in a really good moment. They won so many games recently. It's in a really good moment. You know the expectations, the crowd, the environment that they're going to create. So we are ready for that, and we want to win Wembley again. So tomorrow we have the opportunity to do that again.
I mean, they're on a really good run, aren't they?
Yeah.
Of late. And important to them as well, it's the 50th anniversary of them as a second division side, it was called, then beating a giant Manchester United in the cup final. So there's a lot to contend with there for your players, isn't there?
But that's the magic of the FA Cup, that every scenario, every context, every game has a history, and this one it's a special one, and we are ready to face that tomorrow.
And unusually, they'll be in yellow at home because of that anniversary, and you'll be in red away.
Yes, which is special again. So good.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to work out who the keeper is now.
Okay.
Hi Mikel. Just on Southampton, in recent years, I was wondering, do you kind of look back at previous games against them, because it's not always been a straightforward game at St Mary's for Arsenal? I mean, FA Cup a few years ago, after you'd won it, I think you lost there, but other draws as well at that stadium. Do you look back at those games and kind of try to see what went wrong, what can go right this time?
Well, yes, there are certain things that are going to be similar, but obviously with the new manager, with the players, and the amount of changes that they had in the squad, it is very different. And at the end, you have to talk about the moment, what they are doing in this moment, and what we are doing. And we as well are obviously a very different team.
And in terms of just this last block of games for this season, in recent years, I think probably the best end to a season Arsenal have had was in 2024, when you won 16 out of your last 18 games. I was wondering, was there anything you learned from that season in particular in terms of how you and your team and staff even approached that kind of back into the season?
Yes, we look back at those things and the things that we did, the things that we can work. But again, it's a different group. We are in a different position as well in certain competitions comparing to that year, because there we're just talking about a certain competition. But yeah, we will try to do what we believe is the right thing, what the team needs to give us ourselves the best chance to win every game.
You wanted to speak about Bukayo Saka.
I did
The
want to
floor is yours.
Every time I go on social media, recently I see people having a pop at Bukayo Saka. And I've sort of come to the conclusion that this country, the culture in this country, loves when footballers are going through a tough time. They create these narratives. It's happening with Neymar recently. Everyone's now downplaying Neymar. They create this narrative of negativity and criticism and just terrible, bad vibes that spiral into, and the media laps it up. And the disrespect that I think that's being shown to Bukayo Saka, admittedly, who is having a not Saka-like season, I think it's disgusting. I mean,
Is it? I mean, I haven't really seen much of it. You say the media, but it's social media you're talking about.
social media, I've seen.
But did you think? I agree with you, but I think it's probably all. There's players in all teams who we could probably say that about. I just think football's so tribal that everybody's ready to jump on. You know, your play's not as good as our one. You know, you said he was, and then he has a bad season. So everyone, I think it's tribalism more than anything, rather than I haven't seen too much media-wise.
I see a lot of
papers.
videos. I don't know if I'm allowed to shout out the stations that say it, probably won't, but there's a couple of idiots, you know, sell him, or he's overrated, he's a flop, he's fallen off completely. The guy has, without any right to do so, carried Arsenal on his back for the last 6 years. An academy graduate that's been through some of the most disgusting racial abuse. He still goes to every stadium and everyone chants that he's let his country down. The guy is a poster boy for Arsenal Football Club. He's the perfect footballer for every kid growing up. He's an absolute legend on and off the pitch. And he's getting crucified like he's Arsenal's worst player. He's still our poster boy. He's played, I think, over 350 games for Arsenal, basically every minute possible for club and country for over the last half a decade. And one sort of sign of adversity, and now he's a villain again.
Do you not blame Arteta, though, for overplaying him, is maybe why we're getting this Saka now? Obviously, he had that bad injury. We've seen players before, so young, play so much football. It catches up with your body.
When you're that good, though, it's very hard to drop you, especially when he's the mentality that Saka has carried from day one. I remember we were at the absolute pits, and he put a tweet out saying, Arsenal fans, you deserve better. Completely turned it around. There was also players on 200, 300 grand a week. He was showing more fight than any of them combined. And I'll always love him, but I don't think he gets the respect as a role model from the media.
the Arsenal
Well, talking about respect, I mean, I played over 700 games for Liverpool in the Champions League. Liverpool fans tell me constantly I was shite. Matt, is another one here about the offside rule.
Yeah, I was curious to know, with Wenger's offside rule coming in, how do you think that's going to affect defenders from your perspective?
Shay, it's the daylight one. So we started, probably when we were kids, it was you had to be behind the last sort of defender. Then it became level. Now we're talking about daylight. What's your thoughts
I don't think
on it?
daylight will work either. No. I think it's too advantageous to the forwards and to the strikers. You're talking about holding a high line or whatever, defending high, and I think we know about the strikers. Talk about Saka, for example, the speed that a lot of the strikers have. You can't. How do you defend against that? So I don't know where the happy medium is, because I'm not that big fan of the semi-automated as well. Because remember the goal that Real Madrid scored with Bernardo Silva handball that. It took them minutes to get a decision on that semi-automated. Was Vinicius offside just inside the City's half? And then he showed a picture of two sort of cartoon characters saying that I think one of the central defenders was playing them on, and we didn't see when the ball's getting passed and all this kind of stuff. So, I think we spoke off air about it. You nearly want to bring it back to when we played. I know that sounds a bit dinosaur-like, but in a sense, like a big toe being offside and all that. It's kind of, I think level is, if you're level as a striker, you're onside. If your knee or your forehead, I think recently there was a forehead was offside, just all that nonsense I don't agree with.
Obviously it's Arsene Wenger, and probably one of the legends of the Premier League, isn't he? Probably someone everybody looks up to, but I think since he's come out of the game, and I think he's obviously involved in FIFA, or people who make the rules, IFAB I think it is, and I was involved in a discussion with Arsene Wenger with a group of ex-players about, do you remember the stuff about the World Cup? Yeah. Every 2 years, and I went on a call and listened to it. I just obviously didn't agree with it, but I think that idea was nonsense, to be honest. And
you really want to bring it back to when we played.
It doesn't matter whether the rule is behind the last defender, level or daylight. It still comes down to that. There's got to be a line somewhere, and it's whether you're that far in front or that far behind, basically. For me, I don't know how a defender, how it would work, or you try and play someone offside sometimes, or you hold a line, you think, he's just gone past me. What's the daylight one? How does that even... God knows how that would... I think it's nonsense, to be honest.
I find it mad how in a week where they've done a massive fan survey across Premier League fans saying, has VAR improved the in-stadium experience, that they're trying to complicate the game even further, and they're not listening to the people that actually pay the money to go and watch it. It's just like, please just rip it up and start again. It's just like, it's made the game worse, made it too complicated.
The thing that we all loved with technology, everybody loved goal line technology, didn't they? No one ever...
Because it's black and white.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was probably the thing to stay. But listen, I think we'll be arguing over VAR.
I think that was probably one of the reasons why VAR got involved with the Thierry Henry handball. I think for us to lose out in the World Cup finals on the back of... You may laugh now, but it wasn't funny at the time.
No, I know.
But that was such a big decision, such a big call, and it had VAR been involved at that time. And I think it came in not long after that, because there was a big outcry of an injustice towards us that we didn't qualify on the back of that, So I think there is a place for it, but I agree with you, and I agree with the fans in the stadium. They pay their hard-earned money, and they get probably the least best experience of that, even the right English. But they should have some sort of communications inside the stadium to help you guys.
That was a clear and obvious one, wasn't it? And that's where it should be, in my opinion. Anything that's subjective is going to be subjective, whether it's a referee making the decision or somebody.
And the other thing, when it takes 4 and 5 minutes, just stick with their on-field referee.
It's not enjoy the game in the stadium. You get the goal, and then you have to wait and celebrate again.
Is there scope to go to with an example like that, or any other clear and obvious examples? Is there scope to then go to a challenge system? Do you think then maybe like other
it's going to elongate it even more?
I suppose, but if you
that in
it's in American something like that. So it's like at least that is so outrageous where they can quickly see that, clear that up, and sort of just call it,
the other thing I think I'd like to go on as well is time. We talk about time. Sorry, we're going off one here at the minute, but time wasting. I think it should be taken out of the referee's hands and the officials. It should be some guy with
stopwatch.
I'm free next week with a stopwatch here in my whistle. But all joking aside, when the ball goes out of play, the thing stops.
Yeah, I agree.
A clock, and you do 30 minutes each way, 30 minutes each half. Because you get more in-time football.
I know what you're saying, and you get more into... There's something about the time... We all know it's 90 minutes. Yeah. There's something about the 90... I understand what you're saying, but when people start saying it's 30 minutes each half and you're playing our football and you're playing more football, I get it, but I just don't think you can get away from 90 minutes. There's something about 90 minutes as football. But I do agree with you in terms of time.
But I don't know what the exact in-time play is at the minute, but it's less than 1 hour.
It depends 52 minutes.
I think
your team, and they're the bottom.
Are they?
Newcastle are always near the bottom of ball in play.
But then there's no argument, is there? No one has an argument.
Unless you do it like
the
they've
ball's
done
in play.
for goalkeepers taking too long now. Is it 8 seconds and then they give a corner? Unless you did that for throw-ins where it's like, right, you've got 8 seconds to get the ball back in play or it goes the other way.
We've got corners next year as well.
Yeah.
They can look at corners as well.
That's the hard thing. It's like you want to take these things out of the game, but you also want them to interfere less.
I think
so it's just
for me, you get rid of it and you say it was a thing that didn't work and we need to maybe rethink it.
Yeah.
They're trying to double down.
We've all been involved in games when the rest put up 4 minutes or 6 minutes. Home, and you're like, to your advantage, just how the hell's he got that? It feels like they've just make it up. We'll add this,
deep enough
add that.
in now
But if you've got some guy with a hooter in a
work,
bleeding stadium with a stopwatch, no one.
See who you want to win the title, Arsenal or Manchester City. So raise your hand if you want Arsenal to win the league.
Sophie's choices.
Man City are your rival. I don't understand
It's
it.
just, I think it would be just entertaining if you bottle it. It's just like, when they win it, you just
They're
forget
catching
about
up.
it.
They're catching up on you.
But they've got about like 10 fans, so you don't realise it when they win the title. If Arsenal win the league, you just see it everywhere.
10 fans.
I'd go for Arsenal, just a different winner. So go on. Who's got their hands up for Arsenal, by the way?
Just.
Reasons why? Aaron, come on.
It's just a bit different. I mean, as a Scottish football fan, we're used to the same teams winning the league all the time up here, so the same kind of applies for England. If you have a bit of variety at the top of the table and someone else wins that you've not seen win for a while or win before, I mean, people are still going about Leicester winning it over 10 years ago because it was different, it was something new. And if the same team wins it every year, it just gets boring.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's probably why I've put my hand up. So, City fans, who want City to win it? Well, I'll ask you all this. You want City to win because obviously you're an ex-player. Do you want City to win? Not because you want City to win. You want to see Arsenal fail.
Yeah,
is that what it is?
Yeah, 100%. I would take the same team winning
Why is that? Why is that?
I just dislike Arsenal as a club. I dislike their fans. And like we just heard, it would be hilarious. It would be all-time entertainment to see them melt down and bottle it. So I would take Man City win it for every year for the rest of my life if it meant they didn't win it or these didn't ever win it.
Did you hate Arsenal? Did you hate Arsenal?
I've hated Arsenal since I was a kid.
Really?
I've always hated Arsenal.
They've got a bit of sky blue on the shirt as well somewhere, so it's like
there's
a bit of that.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? We got the West Ham-Chester City connection.
Okay.
I don't know, we might be going through some kind of like something else there now after that draw. Do you know what I mean? It might be.
Why do Arsenal get hated so much? Do you think? Why is that? Why?
Where do you want to start?
I think
Social media probably.
social media. The fact that we're actually quite good now. We weren't hated in 2019 during when we had Emery or towards the end of Wenger because no one cared about us. We were a laughing stock. Now we're a little bit of a problem. People want to.
Yeah, but
they're doing 11 players on international.
You won
break.
more trophies
Oh,
back then, though, than now.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, we won an FA Cup. There was no threat. It was like, little Arsenal shit team.
But that's what you've got now, though.
I know.
Like, that's the same. You've just gone. We've won an FA Cup. That's all Arteta's ever won.
Also, I think it's.
I
Arteta.
understand, but we're competing on all four fronts. I know we've just lost.
trying to have
All four fronts.
I've been trying to have this conversation.
Nico O'Reilly will have something to say.
You're
about
now
that.
chasing.
Right, you two behave yourselves, right? There's one man who I have no problem not wanting Arsenal to win anything for obvious reasons is Ben.
Yep.
He's a big Spurs fan, so we're going to look at the other end of the table. How worried are you after the League Cup final result and performance that this is going to affect the league title bid?
I think that it was a worrying performance, but I don't think it's worried me too much. City were superb and they felt so at home there. I didn't for a second feel like we had the upper edge on them, apart from there was a little spell in the first half, but they took control. It was muscle memory from them. Pep Guardiola, he's been there so many times, he knows how to do the business, and we were outclassed.
You say that, does that worry you that your team and Mikel Arteta don't know how to do the business?
No, because I think that we've got ourselves in a position now where, if we were to throw this away, it'd be unforgivable. But in a final, I think that we maybe didn't respect City enough and respect Pep enough. Like I said, he's been there so many times. And Wembley, I was at the game, they felt like they were at home, more so than even at the Etihad. And what I'm not concerned about is the fact that one positive I've taken is when we have been outplayed this season or dropped points, our response to that has been superb. I remember we lost to Liverpool and we won the following 11 out of 12, dropped to United, won the next 5, dropped to Villa, won the next 7, and drew to Wolves, we won the next 5 or 6, I think it was. So going after we dropped, we seemed to learn a lot, and I think a lesson against Pep Guardiola, when the shit needs shoveling, that is a lesson better than any other.
So is there more fear now going to the Etihad for that big game in April?
I don't know if there is more fear. I think maybe arguably less. Because like I said, it's a lesson learned, and we'll have our best goalkeeper in goal for that game, which was a huge counter to play.
Very important position, though. Very important position, the goalkeeper.
It was but apart from Raya's shot stopping, Raya changes the way that we play from the defence to the midfield, and I think City actually capitalise on that big time. The mistake happens and he gets...
The psychological side of it, how do you think that the Arsenal fans will react? Say they go to the Etihad in a couple of weeks and they lose that game. What do you think their mindset is then?
Well, look, there's a game for us both to play before that. I think they go to Chelsea, we go to Bournemouth. So I'm retired from just ticking off fixtures. Since we dropped to Wolves, I don't do that anymore. So all I care about at the moment is Bournemouth.
The big thing that you've got...
Didn't answer that question, did he, Bob?
No, he didn't. That's what he does. You see, he's a politician. But
we thought it was a debate. They asked a question, we answered. We asked a question, they answered. Do you know what the answer to that? I'm asking you about a game, and you've just not even answered the question I've asked you on.
Sorry. Okay, go on.
I'm asking you about the game at the Etihad, and you talk about Bournemouth next week. I don't care about Bournemouth.
But I don't want to look towards. I don't care. Towards the Etihad.
Why didn't you answer the question?
But what's the point of looking towards the Etihad if we drop to Bournemouth?
I'm not bothered about Bournemouth.
He's just
asking
about
the game at the Etihad. I'm asking you that question.
It's a fucking massive game.
Yeah, but I'm asking you what's the psychology if you lose that game. I'm asking you about that. That's what I asked.
Yeah, it could be detrimental. Could be a massive sway in the title charge. But who knows? They could drop to Chelsea. We could beat Bournemouth. Then the result matters a little bit less at the Etihad. There's a game in between.
Okay. So on this show, you and not just this show. I think when we describe Arsenal, the word the dark art at times comes up for different reasons. Have we seen more evidence of that in the international break?
Are you referring to the withdrawals?
Well, what else would there be?
Yeah, look, for Calafiori and Gyökeres, I understand it. You know, I understand that they can play. They're playing in games that actually matter. But for your Declan Rices, your Sakas, Salibas, Timbers and Gabriels and the rest of them, do you really think that they care about playing in these dead rubber international friendlies?
What about all the other players who did stay and play? It's the same for them, isn't it?
I understand, but these are players who are considered injury risks. And what is the point? You know, Madueke played, I think he came off after 30 minutes, potentially injured. There's no point in doing it. One thing that I don't understand is why they try and cover it up as an injury. I don't know why they don't just come out and say...
You get fined by UEFA if you do that.
Yeah.
If you
but
don't
why?
cover it up, you get fined for not taking your players to internationals. Otherwise, everyone would just do it every time when it's a friendly.
But Pep Guardiola's done it plenty of times. Alex Ferguson's done it plenty of times. I don't see why people have a moan up at
11. I totally get it. Yeah, I think the March April international thing, especially when teams are going for the Champions League and the league, notoriously has been one where players pull out. I get that, but 11, I've never seen that before.
These players are going into a run-in. It's probably going to be one of the most intense run-ins of their
career.
Man
City.
We've done that 1,000 times, mate.
But why is everyone having a moan up? You wouldn't be complaining if it was happening to you. So people.
That's irrelevant. That's completely
irrelevant. It hasn't happened to anyone else, has it?
It's not really.
It's Arsenal, isn't it?
You are the only team that has done it.
Only team that's done it.
There's no bigger honour than playing for your country.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's competitive or friendly.
And also, it's 11
when
players.
Declan Rice and Co look back and they finish, it's like, well, there's 3 or 4, maybe 10 caps I could have got more for England or whatever country.
Can sit there and Saka can sit there and say, listen, you'll see how much I love my country in the summer when I go out to the World Cup and play for them.
Every player.
I'm not bothering playing against Japan in a dead rubber game that I could potentially get injured and ruin my chances of winning the league for a club that pays.
What about you?
And I agree with. I understand because, as I've said, because I understand. But 11, I think it was a bit where you go, that's too much. And when you're saying, you know, this game, it doesn't matter. Listen, I'm not a big lover of international football, but if everybody had that attitude, there wouldn't be international football. There wouldn't be games, would there? There wouldn't be
a World Cup.
I think it's with Arsenal. These players are like nailed on starters. I know everyone's got nailed on starters.
All 11.
But these. Probably.
But doesn't that Bowen, and we're in a relegation battle, and Bowen went and played. We could have done with him resting.
It's different with Bowen. Bowen would love to go to play for England.
So Rice and
Saka, they got nothing to prove. Bowen's
don't
fighting for a
you think
spot.
this shows this potential that they are worried about the run-in because
100%.
that's why they're all pulling out.
I actually,
they're nervous. You know,
I think if I was Luke, I want to say I I'm sure because you're involved, you're probably looking at it more than anybody because you're thinking our players have gone away, theirs have come on, they'll be rested. I think Pep Guardiola can frame this almost as a positive. I do, I really believe that because it is unprecedented, I think, to see 11 changes. You'd expect 5 or 6, but probably not 11. I think Pep Guardiola can make a big thing about there must be a real fear from top to bottom at Arsenal. We all know it with the supporters because that's understandable. You've gone so long without the league. There's a real fear you could throw it away. Yeah. That's normal fan behaviour. But if I was Pep Guardiola and them City players come back, I'd be saying, these are absolutely terrified of throwing this league away. Dave, there's a real fear they could choke here. Yeah. There's no other reason besides that fear that you take 11 players out. No. It's never been seen before. There must be a real fear on the back of losing to City, and then basically, if you said before, you used the word unforgivable if you never won the league. Yeah. That must be the feeling with Arteta, and everyone surrounding Arsenal there must be a real fear. And I just think Pep Guardiola has got to play on that fact and actually see this as a positive, not a negative that your players went away. There is a fear running through Arsenal that they are going to choke and throw this league away.
I don't agree with that. Yeah, I mean, what I'd say as well is like they've had 11 players pull out, and they had 11 that didn't turn up at Wembley because, quite frankly, I thought that game was just crazy in the second half. The way you just rolled over and you just didn't turn up at Wembley. We were having all this talk about quadruples and stuff like that. And I understand Arsenal 9 points clear. I understand City have a game in hand. I understand we're going to play them in that game. But I completely agree. I think they are completely just going delirious about potentially throwing this away. I understand City have dropped quite a few howling, points in the last few weeks. But yeah, I agree with what Shay was saying. If City go and beat Arsenal at the Etihad, I think they're going to be completely rocked. I think, to be honest, they're already rocked.
You got to beat Chelsea first, mate.
I think also
you've got an FA Cup game against Southampton you're not mentioned, mate, as well. So
I think also what you missed is by going away with your international team, it almost relaxes you a bit. You come away from that intense Arsenal pressure that you're under to win the title, and you go away. It's a different environment. You can relax a bit more. They're still training. They wouldn't get many minutes because obviously, we look at what's happened with Villa. We've lost Yuri Tielemans for a while. He's just come back fit, and he got called up immediately by Belgium. No intention of him pulling out. All Emery did was said, look after him, give him a few minutes. And he'll be ready to come back.
Yeah, and they knew they weren't going to play the first game anyway. Because Tuchel said that. He kind of split the squad into two, didn't he? So they were only going to play him.
Go away, relax, and then come back ready to go.
It's not Gabriel went down injured, and I think he did his hamstring.
You could get injured.
He goes down every game, Gabriel.
He'll be fine.
Did his hamstring
Didn't this happen in the last
against Senegal?
Yeah. We had a friendly in this. We've had a friend. We went away. We took the rest of the players that didn't go on international and had a friendly in Spain. And Sancho went down hurt his shoulder. We still don't know where the injury is. So that can happen any time. Yeah. So you've just got to.
Yeah, damage limitation. Pull them the fuck out the internationals. They don't need to play.
But what happens if they don't play for 2 weeks and then get injured in the first game back? Everyone would go, they should have had some minutes. They'd have been all right.
Yeah. The hamstring goes,
ways.
I mean, just on the
Honestly,
back...
anything Arsenal do rattles everyone.
When you're at the top, that's where you get shot at. People are chasing you down. So you have to deal with the psychological... What I would say on the back of that, losing the final, a couple of weeks back, I thought when City dropped, obviously got 2 draws, I think it was Forest and West Ham, I think they dropped 4 points, thought, it's Arsenal's title now, it's done. But now when you lose the final, I was looking at Arsenal thinking they can win the double, they can maybe even win the treble. But I think that's rocked the whole of Arsenal in a sense. They've lost the final. You said yourself they didn't show up in the final. Would you be worried now about winning the FA Cup or the Champions League? Like on the back of that performance?
Yeah, it's made me question how much these players actually want it. When, in that final, we were to get to that final. But like I said, it's a lesson learned, and hopefully they learnt that lesson.
Oh, what a run-in it promises to be. Who will get their hands on the Premier League title come May? Arsenal are 9 points clear at the top of the table with just 7 games to go. But could their Carabao Cup defeat to Manchester City shift the momentum? And I suppose that is something that's made this race a lot more interesting, hasn't it? And will Mikel Arteta right now, do you think, be slightly regretting starting Kepa in that game? It wasn't the only reason they lost it, but has that handed Manchester City a valuable psychological edge they didn't have before?
I don't think so. I think that was a one-off game. It was a final. Manchester City are clearly the better team on the day. I actually think if Manchester City could produce that top performance across the course of the season, it would be a lot closer. But I think that was a one-off game. I don't think, and even the Arsenal fans that I speak to still feel confident anyway. So normally you get this whole Arsenal panic. We haven't had that this season. I think they've bounced back well when something's gone against them, which they don't normally do. And they're now in a position where they can actually still lose that game to Manchester City, and as long as they look after the other games, they still are the winners of the Premier League. So it's all in their hands. I think the manager has learnt his lessons, valuable lessons from seasons gone past, and the players. They seem, from the start of the season, they just seem like an extremely well-oiled machine. They know exactly what they're doing. There's a different steel about them. And I think they'll get it done. I think that game, I don't think he regrets playing Kepa. It'd be very harsh to say that one mistake from a goalkeeper's changed the whole landscape of the title race at all. Those things just happen. I think what would be more disappointing is the way that the whole team performed on that day, rather than that one mistake. But I don't think that affects what they go and do now. I'd be very surprised if they threw it away now.
From a City point of view, though, because as you mentioned there, they clearly were the better side, particularly the second half. They completely took control at the beginning of that second half. Do you think that could click them into gear here and they could go on to win every game from here on in?
They can do. They can do. That would be a good reference point for the manager to say, look how we can perform when we get it right. And they could possibly go on and do that in every game that they've got. And I think they win every game then. Unfortunately for them, if Arsenal do their job, they still don't win it because they've left too much of a gap now because of the inconsistencies of the season. But they were very good on that day. They just showed everybody we're still around. And when we get it right, we get it really right. And we're a good team. We're one of the best teams around in the world. So it was nice to see... if you're not an Arsenal fan, it was nice to see that Manchester City can still perform on that level and dominate any team. They just haven't been able to consistently do that all season.
Yeah. But one thing that might worry City fans is the long-term future of Pep Guardiola. And actually, Jason Burt in The Telegraph today has written an interesting article which says that Pep is going to wait until the end of the season to decide if he will stay. His contract runs to the end of next season. He's yet to make up his mind, wants to analyse in May where City are under him, how he feels, and then decide, which is very interesting if that is the case. Now, he's always seen out his contracts, Pep Guardiola, but the fact that it's apparently so on a knife edge hasn't been decided yet. Would that worry you if you're a City fan?
Yeah, because you cannot replace Pep Guardiola at all. There's no one out there that I think they bring in and everyone feels as comfortable with. But it is going to come to an end at some point. He's going to leave Manchester City. He's been there, 10 seasons, I think. They've won everything. I think it'll come down to if he feels like there's nothing left for him to do there and he can't get the best out of those players, he'll walk on. But for the Manchester City fans, yes, it's a concern because where you're going to go from there. We've seen other clubs lose, Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, and I know they won last year, but now it doesn't seem the same. Obviously, Sir Alex Ferguson, these big, really integral managers leave, and it's taken the club a few years to get going and get over that. So it's a concern, but my thing is, it's going to happen at some point. He's not going to be there forever, so... I don't know. It'd be wise of the club to try and start looking for someone in case. I feel like with Pep, he might wake up one day and go, "That's enough."
But then, what would make him more likely to stay? Because they could do something incredible, win the Premier League. Is that more likely to make him want to stay, or is it if they end up with nothing this season and he thinks, right, I don't want to finish on this note?
I think the latter. I think if somehow they won the Premier League, I actually think he'd probably more chance of him going.
Really?
The fact that he doesn't win the Premier League, if that's what happens, he doesn't seem like the type of guy to quit almost, to go, okay, that's enough. It's like, well, I want to go out on a high. And so he should go out on a high because he's been unbelievable for the Premier League and for Manchester City. So I feel like if they don't win it, he probably stays because he's got a little bit more to get his teeth into.
And you mentioned there's something that you need to plan for. It's very hard to plan for because he is going to go eventually. And actually, in this Jason Burt article, he mentions that City are hopeful he'll stay, but just in case, they are putting together a contingency plan. And 3 managers are mentioned on their shortlist. Enzo Maresca, Xabi Alonso and Vincent Kompany. Now, they might not all be available. Presuming all three of those are available whenever Pep leaves, who do you think would be the best fit to follow Pep Guardiola?
Well, if we're playing the game of they're all available, I would like to see Vincent Kompany in there. I just think what the player that he was, what he means to that football club. Pep Guardiola started off his coaching and managerial journey and what he learnt from him. It would be a nice full circle moment if he went back in there. I think, but apart from that, I think, would he leave Bayern Munich? Why would he leave Bayern Munich at the minute? Xabi Alonso, I can just see him at Anfield at some point soon. And then you're left with Enzo Maresca, who I also don't think would be a bad fit, given the fact that he was there before and what he's done now, having that experience at a big club with Chelsea also, and what he's learnt there going back in. So the three valuable people to go in there. I just think if you was giving me the pick of the three, what Vincent Kompany's done at Bayern Munich is unbelievable, and he's probably the natural one that would go in. You'd like to see go in, I think, for even if for sentimental reasons, but he backs it up with what he can do.
Do you think it's a good job for managers to take to follow Pep Guardiola, or is it a poison chalice?
I don't think it's a poison chalice. I just think it's a very difficult task. We've seen good managers before going after big characters and struggle. So it's something that people will want to take on. Though you're talking about individuals that are very, very competitive and feel that they're the best, and rightly so. And someone will go in there and say, "I want that team. I want that squad. I want to be in that massive football club, and I can achieve things there." But it's easier said than done when you've got someone who micromanages all the sections of the football club and he's so big, and then he leaves a massive hole. You've got to try and fill that hole.
Yeah, it would be a huge hole for the whole Premier League if he does leave. Hopefully, he will stay and see out his contract for another season. Right, how about